Welcome to the conversations we were not allowed to have. Hi, my name is Falgona Oyuga. Today we talk about selfless motherhood, not abandonment, not resentment, but self-preservation. For a long time, women have been taught that motherhood is suffering. You must lose yourself, you must give everything you have until you're left with nothing. And the result is good children who will reward us and somehow pay us back for everything that we lost during motherhood. But now we've noticed as the children grow up, there's something called black tax, and it is breeding a lot of resentment amongst our children because you're finding mothers blackmailing their children, almost forcing them to give all that they have, and children being resentful and wondering, I was not asked to be born. Why is she behaving like I am everything that she has? She has nothing without me. We have these conversations because we want to do better. We want to do different. So join us today as we take our journey and tell it all about motherhood. Who sold African women the idea that motherhood must involve suffering? I don't know where this idea came from. I don't know whether it came from the religions that we got, the foreign religions that we got, that involved a lot of suffering and martyrdom. The more you suffer, the better you are, and the higher your chances of going to enjoy in the afterlife in a high place that has different things like gold and honey. And it is something that is actually problematic when you look at it, because if it is a choice that we make, if motherhood is a choice that we make, then it should not involve suffering. And whoever sold it to us really needs to come back and take it back, or we need to give it back and ask for a refund, because we have no business suffering. And if we sell it as that, then that's what we teach our children, and that's how we teach our children to teach us. I keep saying, and I don't know who told me this or where I read it, that you teach your children how to treat you. So if everything around you involves suffering, then, and you're always there, the selfless one, the martyr, you basically raise yourself. Then when your children grow up and then they overlook you, when they expect you to suffer, they don't do much for you because you are good at suffering anyway. Then who are you going to blame? You cannot start saying, these children have seen how I've suffered and they're still letting me suffer, because they think you're enjoying yourself. Yeah, so that is one thing we should do. And who benefits from this narrative? Of course, the patriarchy benefits from this narrative. If the motherhood then stops your life, then everybody wants you to be a mother, because then now, of course, you're not going to be fighting for the resources with us out here. You're not going to be in the office, fighting over a job. You're not going to be in leadership, in politics, in different social aspects. So basically, they're going to the patriarchy, the system that is patriarchy, is going to benefit when you are not there, because you are too busy happily suffering somewhere in the corner and not expecting a lot for yourself. Everybody's going to be, who would not want that if they are oppressing you? If you're going to do the work of oppressing yourself, yeah. Yeah, children do not ask to be born, though I know there are some different people who would say otherwise. They say we choose to be born, we choose where we are born. Anyway, that is a different thinking. But, technically, if children don't choose to be born, we choose to have our children. Then why is it that we think we should depend on them emotionally, financially, as a retirement plan? again, this is something that was sold to us. I don't know by who. Sometimes I really wish we could find out why it is that we do some of the things we do. But very many people have just decided their retirement plan is their children. That, I didn't, or they will live through their children. I didn't do this, so my child is going to do it. I didn't get this, my child is going to go to school and then get a job and then make a lot of money and then give me what I didn't get. So it's very unfair. It's a very unfair way of doing things, of thinking that this person should just come into your life and their sole purpose in life is to kind of reward you or right the wrongs that that happened to you. Yeah, I've recently been thinking about this, and I think the only way to have a very good relationship with your children, and more so when they are adults, because they will be adults longer than you had them as children, is if you are a selfish mother. A selfish mother meaning that you look after yourself first. When you look after yourself first, then you're not going to be dependent on your children, and then they will not have that resentment towards you later on when they are older, and every time you call is to complain, to ask for something. You can't afford the Panadol, you have a small headache, and you must call somebody to give you money for the headache, for the medicine for that headache. You need to go to church. You don't even have money to give, maybe like an offering. You want to go for a fundraiser. That every time there's something going on in your life, you can't do anything without making a call to a child to ask them for basics. But if you were a selfish mother and invested in yourself, and taught your children how to treat you, then you will have a better relationship, because since you invested in yourself, then you have things for yourself when you're older. You'll be able to have your chicken, you'll be able to have your motorbike, you'll be able to have a car, you may be able to have a bus, a piece of land, rentals. So you're not dependent on children. Selfless motherhood is not love. It almost is blackmail. People think when you're selfless, you are so good, because they are not on the other side to see exactly how they behave when they are selfless. The fact that you want to be selfless, it might come off as, she's selfless, she doesn't want anything back. That can't be further from that truth. Anybody who does something for you selflessly wants everything back. You must pay back for that selflessness. They are not about to let you go that way. So they are doing that in hopes that they will kind of bully you, in a way that you won't know that you're being bullied, but you somehow start feeling guilty. You are guilt-tripped into repaying whatever it is that they've done. So selfless motherhood has nothing to do with love and everything to do with manipulation. Black tax has been something that has been talked about, especially lately, so much. There are so many children who really resent their parents right now because of that, what is called black tax. Because you have a young person here, and the family just expects that they are going to now carry everybody's burden. You find what would happen is a mother maybe has one child that she particularly favors and doesn't mind if that child is useless, does nothing, but makes sure the other children will pay dearly for this child to be comfortable and for her to be comfortable. You find that many children are feeling like their mothers or their fathers don't even care about them. All they want is money. There are very many people also who felt that when they've lost their job or when they've not gotten a high-paying job, that they're treated differently by their parents. And this has exposed a lot of families, because you would think that family is where you go when nothing is working. You would think family is where you go when you are down and out. You would think that family would embrace you, would support you. But what we are seeing now actually is many people are now feeling like they were kind of raised to be workhorses, cash cows, for their parents. And you'll see parents literally demanding from their children, the month comes to an end and people want to scream because your mother is calling you like she worked that job with you, and she's using all manner of things, including Bible verses, to blackmail you into giving her money, and she will be threatening to curse you because she breastfed you and now you're not giving her all your salary. So it is like it's exposed the dysfunction that there is. And many people now, you find very many young people now are choosing to be childless, because they're saying, if a parent is capable of this, I don't think I want to bring a child and have to do this to another human being. You're finding children now going no contact with parents and siblings, choosing to just move on and keep quiet in some corner. So this idea of black tax and the conversation around it has really exposed the dysfunction in what we call African families, when we often think that the African family really is the family that, works. What happens to a woman when her only identity, is motherhood? And how does it impact her children's freedom? When my children were young, when, I was a young mother, I thought all I had to do was be a mother to my children and be a very good mother to them. Put children first. Nothing else comes before those children, not even my life. Not my health, nothing. Everything is just those children, and I just must be around those children, and I must show them all the love and show them, attention and whatnot. And at some point, I was frustrated, and the kids were frustrated. And I looked at some of my friends, because around that time, I had a group of friends, and because I was newly a single mother, I had some single mother friends, and we had some sort of social group. And I looked at some of the women who were so happy. Were women who would take breaks away from their children. They take like a 1 week holiday. They take a weekend off. And for me, I was thinking, I can never be away from my children more than 24 hours. I could not see how I could manage to be away from them for more than 24 hours. And somehow it made me feel like I was such a good mother because I was always there. But I was feeling resentful. And the children were also tired, of being smothered. And I would look at these other ladies who would take time off for themselves, who would take trips, who would take breaks, who would take nights out of town, and the relationship with their children too. And they loved each other so much. It was such a nice relationship. And that's when I realized, what? Some separation is good for both of us, because then I get time to recharge myself, and the kids also get a bit of freedom to, even practice some of the things you're teaching them, how to do this, how to do that. But if you're always on your children's ears, and not giving them room to grow, and not giving them room to find out even who they are independent of you. Because a lot of the times we really smother our children, because we don't have anything else. We think everything about us now is motherhood. We forget who we are, what we know. We forget to dream. We forget to laugh. We are so serious with this motherhood business. It smothers children. It is unhealthy for them. People need time away from each other, and time away from each other is good. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. So when you realize that, yes, you are a mother, but you're just not I mean, if that's all you think you are, then both you and your children are going to suffer. There's going to be a lot of resentment because at some point you feel like life has passed you by and you're just here being mothers to these children. Then now they become your only thing. You have no life. Children want to grow up and move on to have friends, family, their own interests, but you're there guilt tripping them because you didn't do anything for yourself. So now you're guilt tripping children. I'm alone. Your father did. I gave you this. You people are leaving me. And that's also some of the ways you become like a horrible mother-in-law because now anybody wants to marry your son, you want to kill them because you're behaving like your son is your husband, because you did not get any interests out of motherhood. So that losing your identity to motherhood, I think is a sure way of not having a relationship with your adult children. In African families, we are really adopted a lot of the way the colonizer treated us. A lot of families have the head of the family, the father being a dictator, the mother is almost a home guard, and then the children who are now the natives being treated like wild animals. So you find that what we call respect is not often respect. We confuse respect with fear. You confuse silence with people conforming when that silence might be their way of rebelling, might be resentment. So it is, and then now we use a lot of blackmail because now we didn't take time to learn the tools of being family, of being friends, because just because you're family doesn't mean that that's all that's going to bind you together. You must at least be friends. So we didn't take time to do all those things. So now because you've grown up now and you're thinking, okay, now I finally can leave this place. Nobody can hold me anymore. So because now your mother can't beat you anymore, your father cannot threaten to kick you out because you have already gone. Now the only tool they have to use is blackmail. And if you try to call her that blackmail, your mother wants to lift her skirt because, you don't respect me and I breastfed you, I carried you on my back. Your father is saying, I paid school fees, you had a roof over your head, you had this, you had that, I let you live in my house and all sorts of things. So you cannot even talk back because they're like, now you don't even respect me. So everybody is wilding, so to speak. And if you don't conform, if you're not listening to, and which I actually call abuse, then it's for them, it's disrespect. Yeah? And it's hard for people to speak about it. And I'm not even saying it that it is even the parents' fault. It's hard to speak about it because of the way we came up, the socialization that we had. And you'll find this so-called strictness. They call it being strict. They call it being a perfectionist. They have all these names for abuse because it came from somewhere. It came from that colonial system when your grandparents went, maybe for the younger generations, the Gen Zs, you'd call them your great-grandparents. For us, our grandparents went to these missionary schools and they had to be this strict, and there was no emotion and there was no room for any discussion, and things were tough, and you had to be at dinner at 7 p.m. sharp and in bed by 8 p.m. and awake by 4 a.m. and read your Bible for exactly 15 minutes, pray for 10, bathe for 5. It was so militant. So it's not really even their fault because they don't know anything else. And because these people came and called it modern and called it, this is the right way, it was either Christian or it was modern or it was Islam or something. They gave it a religious connotation. So now is when we are actually seeing that these things are very problematic. A lot of the verses that they kept drumming on you, children obey your parents, for this is the only promise with the blessing. They said, children don't do this to you, and they were drummed on you, so nobody gave you space. And nobody gave them space either. So I'm not necessarily blaming parents. We're just looking at it and saying, this is actually who we are, and we are dysfunctional. Selfish motherhood challenges cultural expectations of a good woman. Because if you are selfish, I always say this, if you want to know how people think about their mothers, wait for Mother's Day or their mother's birthday, or maybe if their mother has passed and they are giving, their eulogy or, a testimony or something. And it's often, if it's a good man, my mother was a good woman. She suffered a lot. She suffered for us. My mother could give us the last food and sleep hungry. My mother would walk, I don't know how many kilometers to come and give me lunch in school every day. My mother didn't have shoes. Her shoes were torn. And we have accepted it and we like it, because a good woman also suffers and endures silently. But when she does everything. You say how, people have written songs about their mother's hands being rough and cracked and bleeding because she was working herself to the bone. And that is a good woman. But when she is a selfish woman, she will not agree to that. We either get help, because we say these days, and I say it quite often, pay for as much help as you can. Delegate as much as you can. Because what that does is then frees you to be able to follow your dreams, to be able to be creative. You can't be creative if from morning to evening you are washing clothes. Yeah? Delegate as much as you can afford. Yeah, so if you can afford a maid now, get a maid. If you can afford a maid and a gardener, get a maid and a gardener. You can get a maid, a gardener, and a driver, get a maid, a gardener, and a driver. And as you go, so you might start off by being able to only afford a maid that comes once or twice. Do that. You can only afford to have your clothes washed at the laundromat. Take them there. When you then remove that selflessness and now become selfish, because you want to buy back some of your time. And when you buy back that time, it's not time now to then look for other things to do with your children. It's there for you to look for things to do with yourself and to invest in yourself. Go to school, get a course online, learn a new skill, start a podcast, sing if you want to sing, open a TikTok account and do your TikTok. That challenges good womanhood. Selfish motherhood challenges that cultural good womanhood, because you're not sitting here, you are not brought in this life to suffer, even if the children are yours. That is not good motherhood. And rebellion, this is now where rebellion is needed to change some of these things for generational healing. Yeah. If you are able to heal yourself, then you'll be able even to heal your mother, whether she's here or not. Yeah, because of what it is that they've passed down. So you are able to heal them and then not pass it down to your children. So selfish motherhood is knowing when to take time off, insisting and teaching your children that there are times that I need to be left alone. Children cannot be just climbing on top of you from morning to evening. Everywhere you go, children are crawling on you. You can't even remember when you last brushed your teeth or went to the toilet alone. So you must teach your children those things and tell them, listen, from this time to this time is mommy's time. Don't knock this door unless somebody is bleeding. Don't knock this door. Everybody to sit down. And if anyone is fighting, I'm coming to beat everybody. So that you have some 30 minutes to yourself, even to plait your hair, but this thing of just Children just run your life from morning to evening. You don't know that you're coming or going. You forget to bathe. Your dress has vomit, and everything is happening in your life. That can't work. And even also when they become teenagers, they must learn that you are not there to be their personal chauffeur, teacher, driver, clown, entertainment. That's not your work. Children must know that you are a human being and you need time to yourself. Yeah, and they must understand it and they must appreciate it. Let me tell you, that is the only way you will be able to enjoy those children when they become adults. Because for them, they also know how to treat you. When they know, oh, by the way, it is Saturday evening, mom will always come Saturday evening and she will pour herself a glass of wine and she will take a long bath. She'll put on a good dress and she will dance with us a little bit and go out and go and dance with her friends. They'll understand it that, this, she's not a robot that runs on, batteries and whatnot. They'll understand that you're a human being because you're teaching them that you have human experiences. When they see you laugh, when they see you take a Sunday morning to sleep, they understand that you need rest. But if you want to work from morning to evening, they start wondering why children are treating you like some form of slave. You taught them that. Yeah. So selfish motherhood, very important for breaking generational curses. And because again, selfish motherhood is rebellion. It really is rebellion because we were taught otherwise. How we can model self-preservation. I've always said that in all animal species, the human female is the only one who doesn't know how to preserve herself. All other animals preserve themselves first. So I'm not saying that you leave your child to die, but if you watch the animal kingdom, you see a female mother would leave her cub if it is sick because it's going to cause them problems. It will slow the herd down. It will make them more open to predators and what have you. I'm not saying leave your child if the child is sick. The reason we are human is because we have brains, we can think. But I'm saying, why is it that we then involve ourselves in a lot of practices that slow us down? A lot of practices that teach everybody to pick on us because we love to portray ourselves as victims. Remember we said we must teach people how to treat us. Children must know that this is when I take my rest. And when I'm rested, they also understand, they see that, okay, she works, then she rests. She has time with her friends, and she has her own hobbies. You can wake up in the morning and maybe go jogging, or you play tennis, or whatever it is that you do as a hobby. This frees up a child because there's something very interesting about children, and we were all children, so we know. There's a way we are born and we think we must save our parents, especially if our parents are suffering or we believe they are suffering or we have turned them into victims. There's a way we think we should save our parents. So in our small heads as children, you then start trying to do things, and you find many children so stressed, sometimes about things that are not even their problem. But they don't know any other way. Yeah. So you sometimes think you are the problem. Maybe it's because of you, mom cries so much. Maybe it's because of you, mom is fainting a lot. Maybe it's because of you, so because you're not looking after yourself, a child kind of starts thinking it's their problem. You're not looking after yourself, then also children grow fearful because as they grow older, they start thinking, this is going to happen to me. My mother was always fainting, or my mother died of this, or whatever. So you grow up thinking, this is going to happen to me. So you are fearful. You're not feeling, you can't really live to your full potential. So when we don't look after ourselves, when we don't preserve ourselves, preserve our health, preserve our sanity, then children learn that one, they might think it is their fault, so you're not freeing them. They're feeling guilty, so they grow up in guilt. Anything that happens, they think it must be their fault. And then also when we are not preserving ourselves, we're not at our best mentally. So you are going to be saying things, and we should not lie to ourselves that we not say these things. We say them either verbally or how we behave. You behave now like children. Those children now are a burden to you. You you even say it, that I'm doing all these things for these children, and these children can't even see, they can't even appreciate. And now the children are feeling some kind of way. But if you're preserving yourself, if you have your own life, then this child is free to live their life, because they are comfortable, and they are so sure that you are okay. You are healthy. You are living, your best life. You are happy when you get home. Of course, you're not going to be happy all the time. You're not on drugs. But, you have a normal kind of flow, where there's, of course, more happy moments than sad moments, because you're a healthy, mentally human being. So children then are free to live their own lives, because they know, I don't have to take care of that. I'm not responsible for that. I am responsible for myself. So those are the things that then will happen if we preserve ourselves. And that's why it is so important as mothers that we look after ourselves so well that it frees our children from thinking that they're responsible for us. If motherhood were redesigned today, without the myths, the guilt, or fear, a self-respecting African mother would be a very happy mother. First of all, she would live long. She would live long because she would make the right choices. Making the right choices because she is free to make those choices. Making the right choices because she's not going to be shamed about whatever choice she feels is good for her. So she would live long. If the marriage is not working, she'd be okay. Motherhood would look like what is comfortable to her. If she's a single mother out of choice or, circumstance, it would be okay. She would not be judged. So she would be happier and she'd be freer. If she's a mother who decided that she's in a marriage, she should also not be shamed for choosing to get married or to stay married. Because there's no pressure on her, she would be choosing the best father for her children. Motherhood would look like trying again if you don't succeed in relationships. You'd get a different father for your children. Yeah, if this father is not working, you don't have to sit there and try to make a dead horse run. Yeah, you would get another father for your children. Motherhood would be fulfilling. It would not be a chore. It would not be duty. Yeah, it would be something you do and you grow with your children. You'd be happy to grow with your children. You would learn with your children. It would be lighter. It would have, there'd be more community. African womanhood would band around women like they used to, and hold each other instead of judging. So it would be judgment free, even from women. The women would come around and they would help you. They would carry the baby. They would clean the dishes when you are down. They would surround you. They would cook food and good food. They would sing and they would give warm hugs. And it would be a collective experience, because we would see all children as ours. And when one mother is down, needs time away, the other one would pick the mother. So we would pick the mother, or pick the kids and let the mother have some time. So I think if we were to redesign motherhood, maybe we go back to the very beginning and then use that template, add what would work, subtract what doesn't work. And with a lot of us and our learned experiences, I think it would be a great time. I think it would be the heaven that we are dying to go to. Yeah, because as somebody says, mothers are the representation of God on earth. So we would make it paradise. If this conversation made you uncomfortable, then that's good. Discomfort means that you're thinking differently about motherhood. Selfless motherhood is not about just choosing yourself. It means choosing yourself so that your children get to choose themselves, get to have a life. Choosing yourself means that your children are freed from the responsibility of giving you a life you think you deserve because you have already given yourself that life. As we go on and in our journey of motherhood, I hope that we continue to have these conversations and we continue to be honest with ourselves and speak freely with our children, and even as they become adults, get their points of view, find out what is happening, what they are feeling about the way you mothered, because let's be honest, we make mistakes, and for a long time nobody was allowed to question their mothers. They're going to be uncomfortable conversations, because of course we believe we are giving our best, but just because you think you're giving your best doesn't mean the other person is receiving the best. So be open to having those conversations with your children and start from when they're young. Find out what their ideas are, and as they grow older, it will be easier to hear.